Welcome back, everybody. You know, in this town, it's hard to get information out of government day and night. You have to fight for it. Well, Judicial Watch does a fantastic job doing that, whether it's on the extraordinary fees collected by NIH scientists for projects that you and I paid for, or the latest scandals coming out of the FBI. Judicial Watch and Tom Fitton is always with us. We had a good interview with him a couple days ago. We want to play it for you right now. We really have a much clearer picture now, Tom, of just how the scam ran. Hunter Biden gets deals lined up. Money starts flowing into the account, and then the deal makers are getting dinner, private dinner with dad at the Cafe Milano. Dynamic, we were told, was a conspiracy theory in 2020. Now we know it to be very real. I just want to have you step back. You fought for more transparency on Hunter Biden than anyone I can think of. We have such a better picture than we had. What is the big picture that Americans should take to the ballot box with them from what we now know about this scandal?
Well, the media lied to us knowingly, I think. Joe Biden lied time and time again about his relationship with his son's business partners and what he was doing with them. And on top of that, you know, we knew there was a lot of money out there, John. I mean, we generally had a sense that there was a lot of money sloshing around the Biden family. But the news this week that at least $20 million passed through these accounts. The additional information out of that the FBI document that Burisma CEO told an FBI source that he gave the Bidens $10 million, including Joe personally. You know, we're now talking at least $30 million, right? And some are saying it's going to go higher than that. It's probably much higher than that. And I don't think there's been anything like that in American history in terms of having a president be compromised. And, you know, I was talking to a reporter the other day, and I made the point. I said, you know, if we knew about this, for instance, as when Joe Biden was vice president, he would have. I think there's a strong, there's strong evidence he would have gone the way of Spiro Agnew and been driven out of office. I don't think even the Obama gang would have been able to tolerate that. If it had come out. I suspect they knew about it, but they didn't want it coming out. So he came into office under false pretenses. And, you know, the question is, the Republicans have gotten all this information out. What are they going to do with it? Yeah. You know, Congress isn't going to prosecute Joe Biden. They're not even going to fully prosecute Hunter. And so what tools do they have available to make sure there's accountability? And, of course, impeachment is the most obvious one, and spending and defunding and leveraging the power of the purse to get criminal investigations seriously going are another option. But it's hard to avoid impeachment given all the information we've had, Amanda and John.
Yeah, very powerful.
Right. Well, I mean, back in May, House Oversight had projected that they had evidence of 10 million, and it's now more than doubled. We're now up to over 21 million. So the price tag certainly matters. And just a few days ago, we asked Chairman Comer if there was a ceiling, and he said, no, there's more. There's more. So I can hear it now, though, because I constantly hear messaging from the left regarding this, and folks who don't necessarily know the dollar amounts and know the intricacies of all of this corruption. And they say, well, everybody in Congress does it. This is why they call it the swamp. This is D.C. This is how people operate. They use their influence. They use their name. This elite capture aspect of being an elected official. And they say that this happens all the time. What is it about this that makes it so unique?
Well, obviously, the payments were disguised in such a way as to minimize public disclosure or hide it completely. You know, if the spouse of a member of Congress is a lobbyist, you know, typically that sort of activity is disclosed and people can draw their own conclusions from it. But no one knew, the mayor of Moscow's wife, or the former mayor of Moscow's wife, was sending millions to the Biden operation, or that Burisma was sending tens of millions of dollars, or that the Chinese were sending money directly to the Bidens. And then these monies are being laundered amongst the various family members of Biden. And, you know, the media really dropped the ball. Obviously, you know, Just the News and Solomon, Amanda, you've been following this more honestly. You know, but I remember, you know, Judicial Watch put out information years ago showing that Hunter had gone on 29 visits to foreign countries with the Secret Service in tow, and of course, famously with his father to China. Where was the follow-up on that? What was he doing during these world travels. And I think it's pretty obvious what he was doing, and that's why they didn't want to have too many questions. And so, now Comer is talking about he's been kind of circling Joe Biden, his family, by getting records from the banks, right? So it's kind of third-party information. So now the big step he says he's going to take is to get the Biden family records directly, Joe and Hunter's banking records and other financial records. And he can't move soon enough on that. Now, that's going to be a tougher haul, which is why he went with these third-party subpoenas, because they'll fight tooth and nail to withhold this information from the American people. And this is why I suggest they immediately escalate what Comer's doing, what Jim Jordan is doing, and what they're doing at the Homeland Security Oversight Committee to an impeachment inquiry to give the request more legal heft and highlight to the American people just how important this is.
Yeah, that's a moment that I think is soon coming. I think that decision is on the horizon soon. Tom, I want to talk about the FBI, because obviously we got FISA renewal. There's a lot of talk, not a lot of action yet. We learned a little bit earlier this year that bank records were turned over of Americans without any warrant, without any protection in regard to the Fourth Amendment. Now, yesterday, Jim Jordan tells us that he has got a really good handle on a thing called geofence warrants, where basically everybody's phone records get scooped up, your location data, regardless of whether they had probable cause to look at yours, and they go looking to see if they can find a crime in the big bucket. It seems like the FBI's powers have expanded without the law catching up to all the technology that the FBI has access to. Is this a reckoning moment? What needs to happen to get some sense of the Fourth Amendment back? Because right now we live in an era where basically the FBI issues general warrants, so they don't have to have probable cause. They just look for whatever they're looking for.
If January 6th is really been an excuse to violate civil rights and law enforcement approaches that typically would be frowned upon by civil rights advocates and such. And so, because it's January 6th, the rules of the law don't apply. And whether it's legal or not, obviously there's going to be a big argument about whether the warrants are appropriate under the circumstances. In addition, we know, because Jim Jordan has explicitly uncovered a Bank of America document, but other banks evidently were, quote, voluntarily turning over the private banking information of everyone in the Washington, D.C. area in and around January 6th. And we asked the FBI for these documents, and they gave us this extraordinary, well, we can't confirm or deny this happened response.
Right.
And of course, the courts here, which are left wing and have been, are kind of thick when it comes to January 6th, to put it charitably, they endorsed it. So you're right. I mean, we do have this kind of assault on these constitutional freedoms and protections that people traditionally relied upon that aren't being, these protections aren't being vindicated in the courts or in the agencies because it's about getting Trump. And we see this with the indictment. You see this with the January 6th targeting. It's a bad time for our Constitution and our rule of law, that's for sure.
Well, one of the things we know you're doing is fighting for transparency, so you can learn a little bit more how these things are happening so we can maybe fix them one day. Tom, it's a great honor to have you on. Thank you for all the work you've done to make America wiser, smarter, and more free of information. So we'll be right back after these messages.